Every major war leaves behind more than destruction. It changes the way militaries fight. World War II introduced radar and jet engines. The Gulf War showcased stealth aircraft and precision-guided bombs. War in Afghanistan transformed drone warfare. The war in Ukraine demonstrated how cheap FPV drones could destroy tanks worth millions of dollars. And now, the conflict between Iran and US is also rewriting the next chapter in military history and how they actually fight. Well, we are talking about the latest round of US strikes against Iranian targets, which marked the first known combat use of American one-way attack sea drones. But this very story is about far more than a new drone. Well, military analysts believe the Iran conflict is increasingly becoming a real-world laboratory where the United States can evaluate autonomous systems, artificial intelligence, low-cost precision weapons, and next-generation battlefield tactics under genuine combat conditions. Unlike military exercises, real war exposed technology to enemy radar, electronic jamming, missile attacks, and unpredictable battlefield conditions. So that is why in today's edition of From the News Desk, we will explain how the Iran war is becoming America's proving ground for the wars of tomorrow, and most importantly, why the combat debut of a new naval drone could fundamentally change how militaries fight future conflicts across the globe. Well, modern warfare is no longer just about who has the biggest army or most fighter jets. Increasingly, victory depends on who has the smartest technology. For more than 2 decades, the United States has invested billions of dollars in unmanned combat systems. What began with surveillance drones like the Predator has now evolved into autonomous aircraft, robotic ground vehicles, and most importantly, even unmanned naval vehicles capable of operating with minimal human intervention. In fact, the latest conflict with Iran appears to be accelerating that very transformation. According to CENTCOM, US forces recently employed one-way attack sea drones for the very first time during operations against Iranian military targets. These drones reportedly operated alongside aircraft, ships, and aerial attack drones in coordinated strikes targeting radar installations, missile launchers, drone facilities, and coastal defenses. And unlike traditional naval warfare, where billion-dollar destroyers and aircraft carriers perform dangerous missions close to hostile shores, these unmanned systems can take on many of those risks without putting sailors or perhaps mariners directly at risk. Also, such naval drones cost only a fraction of modern warship. It can patrol contested waters, gather intelligence, carry explosives, or deliberately sacrifice itself to destroy a high-value target. Well, for military commanders, losing a drone is expensive, but losing a crewed warship is both a strategic and political disaster. The appearance of these new combat systems did not happen overnight. In many ways, this moment has been years in making. Now, long before tensions with Iran reached their current level, US Central Command had already begun preparing for a battlefield increasingly dominated by such autonomous technology. In fact, one of its most ambitious initiatives has been Task Force 59. Established under the US Navy's 5th Fleet, its mission was simple in theory but revolutionary in practice. Integrated unmanned air, sea, and underwater systems with AI into everyday military operations across the Middle East. Since 2021, Task Force 59 has conducted numerous experiments using autonomous surface vehicles, AI-assisted surveillance systems, and unmanned maritime patrol platforms throughout the Gulf. And large-scale exercises such as Digital Horizon focused on teaching these systems to detect threat, monitor commercial shipping lanes, identify suspicious activities, and most importantly, to operate alongside conventional naval forces. At the time, many observers and military analysts viewed these demonstrations as futuristic experiments. Today, many of those same technologies appear to be entering real combat, and that is a significant leap. Perhaps the biggest lesson from this conflict has very little to do with Iran itself. Instead, it may be about preparing for wars that have yet to begin, and there is a lesson for every military across the globe. US military planners increasingly believe future conflict will not be dominated by a handful of extremely expensive platforms. Instead, they could involve thousands of relatively inexpensive autonomous weapons operating together across land, sea, and air. The second point, rather than firing $1 million cruise missile at every target, commanders may launch swarms of low-cost precision drones. Instead of risking destroyers near hostile coastlines, fleets on unmanned surface vehicle could move in first. Now, instead of sending soldiers into dangerous reconnaissance missions, autonomous systems may gather intelligence before human forces even arrive. Now, remember, the United States has already invested heavily in this very philosophy. Now, among the latest examples are the Lucas, which are the low-cost uncrewed combat attack systems, and the Barracuda cruise missile, both designed to provide precision strike capabilities at a much lower cost than traditional weapons. Now, the idea here is simple: build weapons that are cheaper, faster to manufacture, easier to replace, and expandable when necessary. Now, military planners describe such systems as attritable. Well, in simple terms, they are designed to be lost during combat without creating massive financial losses or reducing overall combat effectiveness. In fact, recent conflicts have only reinforced that thinking. The Ukraine war proved how inexpensive drones could destroy expensive armors. The Red Sea crisis demonstrated how unmanned systems could actually threaten some of the world's busiest shipping lanes. And now the Iran conflict may be showing how the United States intends to combine autonomous systems, artificial intelligence, and precision strike weapons into a single integrated battlefield. Of course, an important question still remains unanswered. Success against Iran would not automatically guarantee success against other major military powers. Countries such as China and Russia possess far more advanced air defense networks, electronic warfare capabilities, and integrated military command system. But every conflict teaches valuable lessons. Every strike reveals strengths, every failure exposes weaknesses, every engagement improves tactical softwares and operational planning. And history has shown us the same thing. Like radars matured during World War II, precision-guided weapons reshaped warfare during the Gulf War, armed drones transformed operations in Iraq and Afghanistan, and today, autonomous naval systems, AI-assisted targeting, and low-cost precision weapons may be defining the next military revolution. Whether Washington intended it or not, the conflict with Iran is offering America's armed forces something no peacetime exercise can ever fully provide: a live operational environment where emerging technology faces real enemy resistance, real battlefield uncertainty, and real strategic consequences. And if these systems continue to prove effective, the biggest legacy of this conflict may be not measured by targets destroyed in Iran. Instead, it may be remembered as the war that helped shape how the United States of America and perhaps every major military power fights the war of the future, where artificial intelligence, autonomous weapons, and most importantly, network combat systems become just as decisive as fighter jets, tanks, and aircraft carriers once were. Well, with that, it's a wrap on this edition of From the News Desk. Thank you so much for watching, and I'm Yash Goyal signing off for Times Now Digital. Until next time, take care and keep watching in space for more such videos.